Hi Year 3 and Year 4, really excited that I'm here with you today so we can go through our monster pizza instruction writing. We've done lots of work over the past couple of weeks and days, so now it's time to put all of our learning together. So, first thing that I've got is very important, we've got our title. So make it nice and big, and what we are making is not normal pizza, we're making monster pizza. And after we've got our title, have a think about the next section. There are lots of different parts to our ingredients, but the next section, what would that be? Before we go into how to make our pizza, there's something very important that adds a little bit of extra detail for our reader. Have a think. If you know the answer, call it out now, and I'm going to show you what I've got. The next thing, Year 3 and Year 4, is the introduction. So I've got a couple of sentences just to get the reader interested in what I'm writing my instructions about. So, I've got here, do you know any ravenous monsters? Ooh, ravenous. Does everyone remember what that word means? We're not just hungry, we are ravenous. It means you are absolutely starving. And that's what we want. We want people to feel really hungry after reading our instructions that they want to go and make our monster pizza. Do you know any ravenous monsters? Question mark, because it's a rhetorical question. We've got just the thing for you. This something recipe will put a smile on your hungry face. So, we would like you to have a look at this introduction and think about what could we use here to fill our gaps. We have got something, comma, something. Do you remember what we call this? I hope you're all saying noun phrase. We call this a noun phrase. So let's think, what would we like to use to describe our recipe? We don't want to say boring or dull or nice, absolutely not. What could you use to describe this recipe? It's exciting, it's new, it's different, and that's what we want people to be excited about. So have a go now at writing your introduction. Have a look and see if you would like to magpie anything that Miss Ramsamy has got, and finish your introduction now. So you can pause the video and do that, and when you're ready to continue, you can press play again. Okay, everyone, I really hope you are proud and feeling really happy with your introduction. Just a few things to remember: capital letters, full stops. If you've got a rhetorical question, have you got your question mark? Exclamation mark to make it even more exciting. If you're feeling happy, we're going to have a look at our next section. So we've got our title and we've got our introduction. What comes next? We're writing instructions. Well, we need some ingredients, don't we? And that's what's going to be next. We have got a subheading which says ingredients, okay? And it's followed by a colon because we've got a list of things that are coming underneath. So, we would like you to think about what are you going to use for your monster pizza. And to help you out, we have got 3 sections for you. Pizzas are made up of a base, the sauce, and the toppings. So have a think about what you would like to use for yours. Now remember, this is a monster pizza, so the things that we are going to be using on our pizza are not going to be very nice. And even, I would say, the more disgusting, the better. If you can't remember any of the vocabulary words, you can have a look at the videos that Oak Academy has put on in the previous lessons. There were some really great words that they used, fantastic vocabulary, and we would love to see those in your writing. So, once you have done your base, sauce and topping subheading, you can write your choices. 3 for your base, 3 for your sauce, and 3 for your toppings. Use the bullet points to separate your ideas. Now, Miss Ramsamy is just going to have a think about one to give you an idea. So for my base, imagine I would like to use mud. Good base, nice and thick, nice and sticky. Now, Year 3 and Year 4, I could very simply write the word mud. That sounds a bit boring. I'm going to use an adjective to make it even more specific. So what sort of mud am I going to use? What could I have? Call out some ideas. Thick, sticky. Any other ideas? Just try and remember that to challenge yourself. Instead of just telling me the ingredients you're going to use adjectives to make it even more specific and even more interesting to read. So you're going to pause the video now and write your next section, the ingredients. Base, sauce and toppings. Hopefully you've done that now and your instructions are coming together really nicely. Have a check back. You should have your title, your introduction and your ingredients list. And now we're ready to move on to the exciting part. Does anyone remember what the next part's called when we're actually making our pizza? If you know the answer, I hope you're calling it out now. The next section is called the method. And I'm going to write method as my subheading so it's really clear for everyone to see. Now, when we are sequencing our ideas, there's something very helpful to show which step comes first. What can I use before I start writing my sentences? Numbered steps make it really clear the order that we have to do everything in. So I'm going to use the number 1 here for my first step. And very simply, my sequencing word will come next. Now, year 3 and year 4, I hope you've spotted that we don't use the word sequencing word. Here at Heathmere, we call them adverbs of time, okay? So don't get confused, don't get worried, they are exactly the same thing. So for my first step, I'm very simply going to use first. What sort of letter would I use to start off? Capital letter, well done. First, there's a really important piece of punctuation that we need after our adverb of time. Do you remember what it is? It's a comma, well done. So first, comma. And now we can follow on with the instruction for our first step. There are some really great words that we can use as well to add extra detail. Adverbs of manner tell us how to do things. So the one that I'm going to use now is this. Tricky one to say. First, comma, thoroughly. Do you remember what thoroughly means? Thoroughly means that you need to do it a lot to make sure that everything is mixed up. But remember, there are so many different adverbs of manner that we could use here. Thoroughly, gently, slowly. You'll be able to choose yours depending on what you would like to do for your first instruction. First, comma, thoroughly, mix. And again, there are lots of different words we could use for mix. Stir. Combine. All of these things tell me to mix. So there are so many choices for you to use. Just think carefully about how you would like the person who's following your instructions to do this thing. Would you like them to gently mix? Slowly mix? Mix it quickly? Thoroughly means really getting in there to give it a good mix. Choose something that you think will be appropriate. First, comma, thoroughly mix the something, something. Oh, Miss Ramsamy is going to have snot in her pizza base. So I'm going to say that I'm going to mix the snot first of all. Can you see what I've done here, year 3 and year 4? I've left 2 gaps with a comma in the middle for another noun phrase. I'm going to describe my snot. It's not just any old snot. It's going to be very specific so people can picture it. Can you think of 2 adjectives I could use for snot? Call them out now, have a think in your head. I'm going to give you some examples, but there are so many out there. Remember, you can go back to the previous videos and check. What about if we had gooey snot? Or even slimy snot. Remember, the more disgusting the better for our monster pizzas. So far I have got first, comma, thoroughly mix the gooey, comma, slimy snot. And Because remember, I'm mixing, I need to have more than one thing. So I've got my snot, and I'm going to mix it with something, eyeballs, and something, toenails. So I'm definitely going to have a bit of crunch to my base, aren't I? Can you think of some adjectives that could help me? How could I describe my eyeballs? How could I describe my toenails? This is a really important thing, Year 3 and Year 4. Just to remember that you are adding lots of detail, so it's really clear for the person who's reading your instructions to see what you can use. So, I am going to pause the video. I'd like you, to pause the video now, and you are going to have a go at writing your method. Remember, you've got your dough, you've got your sauce, and you've got your toppings. So all of those things we would like to see in your instructions. First, thoroughly mix the gooey, slimy snot and eyeballs and toenails. Oh, and actually, what are we making? To make the dough. Have a go at writing your instructions now. Year 3 and Year 4 adults cannot wait to see all of your brilliant learning. Work really hard, and if you have any questions, I know your adults will be able to help you.